Hey, Vanilla Cream, how's it going? You get him. All right. Well, we're getting ready to start here in just a moment. My mic is way too loud. Sorry, ASMR. ASMR. All right. Let me just bring up some of my material that we're going to go over today. Looks like we've got 2 watching at the moment. 3 watching at the moment. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and click like on my own broadcast. Hey, you know, you got to engage any way you can. All right, so we're going to be going over some Answers in Genesis and Answers in Genesis Canada. Canada. Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Hello and welcome and welcome and welcome and what's up and how's it going? I hope you're doing well. I'm Goose. And today we're going to be doing sort of the same flavor of stuff that we have been known to do in the most recent past, which is covering stuff like, you know, America First versus Christianity, determining which of the two is the more evil. It's always a kind of a toss-up in terms of the two parties, because the Venn diagram of Christians who are MAGA and MAGA who are Christians is a bit of a circle. But there are some differentiations, and there are some people who are members of the MAGA party who happen to be Christian, who are almost entirely innocent in all of this. But there are also, you know, Christians who could be innocent in all of this as well, who happen to have fallen into the MAGA sphere, either accidentally by circumstance or just happened to have been raised into it. So we're going to look at 2 very common examples of, of channels and organizations. And this is not, today is not about what it normally is, which is individual users, kind of like taking a look at individual creators and people who, deserve sort of at the moment reactions. It's not quite like that today. It's mostly more taking a look at organizations like PragerU and seeing what they're kind of like teaching our kids sort of thing. What I would like to do is I wish that we had like the ability to append a secondary title to videos, because I would love to also just have like answers, you know, from an atheist. Like if you have any questions of an atheist, you know, please feel free to ask. You know, I know that there are always sort of like there's only like 3 questions that go around in people's heads when they are of a religion and they have to ask atheists questions. And it's also a bit contrite. You know, I think that YouTube has been going around and around in the creator space of people asking atheist questions and people having debate over whether or not God exists. I think it's a healthy debate to have, whether or not God exists, but people tend to go a little bit into nuance. If you've seen any of my previous live streams, you have heard me rant on and on about how people go deep into philosophy and they go deep into the nuance and the minutia of figuring out what God's intentions are or what God is like trying to say in a certain circumstance, rather than just determining whether the guy exists or not. And so I don't think that that's very useful to the discussion between the two of which would be more evil, of Christianity or MAGA. So that's why I don't typically go super far deep beyond surface level. We just kind of keep things a little bit more up top. That being said, if you have any questions about atheism or you know what it's like to be an atheist, I'm happy to field those. I just didn't want to make that the subject of the video, because if I'm doing that, or the subject of the live stream, because if I did that, I'd be sitting here all day just waiting for people to ask questions. So that's why we're not doing that specifically. But Communist Teachers Union. Already I'm seeing titles I don't like. So we'll take a look. I guess we'll get rid of the Answers in Genesis Canada, because we covered them a couple of days ago. But they're a really good channel to look at because they just friggin' make stuff up. So, you know, goddamn. I'm seeing, what's his face? Michael Knowles on a goddamn thumbnail. Anywho, let's actually get into it as opposed to just looking at the thumbnails, because it's gonna just piss me off. All right. So, as is as is popular with, you know, just kind of the format that we've determined is a fun format to use, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at their most popular videos, right? We're gonna look at a couple of their most popular videos, and then we may go to the oldest and then the newest. That's kind of just the format. It's sort of a whatever. I don't really organize it very specifically. I just kind of like come into it and react as we go. But so we'll go back and forth. We'll look back and forth at the two, and I'd like to just kind of throw in random TikToks as well to kind of what would you say you would be putting a line break in there, right? I don't remember what my information is. Hang on, sorry. I don't know if this is the account that I have, though. Yes. No, yes. No? Yes. Yes. Yes, it is. Good. We're good. We're good. Sorry. Figured it out. I figured it out. We got it. We got it. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. I was going to be looking for America First. It's always fucking Nick Fuentes. God damn it. I mean, he's easy to dunk on, so it makes sense. MAGA! Alright, we got it. We figured it out. We made it work. Welcome, welcome if you're just joining. Please don't swipe away if you are swiping in on the shorts feed. I would love to get some engagement going on. We keep going up and down in the numbers, and it's not necessarily a bad thing because it's just kind of consistent at this point. But we're trying to build a community, so it'd be nice if you just hang around for a second. A little bit more than, what is it, the average watch time right now is 1 minute. So, you know, bring that up a little bit, and maybe you'll see something you like. Let's do it. So I'm going to look at the PragerU most popular video. This is the most popular video on their channel. It has 28 million views. It's from 7 years ago. So maybe a little outdated, but we will take a look at something that's a little more recent. Goddamn. So this is Dennis Prager on the thumbnail. I don't know if it's him that's going to be talking on the video, but we shall see.
What's the difference between a liberal and a leftist?
I don't know,
This question stumps most people because they think liberal and left are essentially the same.
That's certainly how they are described in the news. The violent extremist leftists that, you know, the news talks about is always people who are just anyone on the left of the aisle. That's all it is. It's always conflated. It's never really separated. But it's cool that Dennis Prager 7 years ago decided to do that. That was good of him at the time.
But they're not. In fact, liberalism and leftism have almost nothing in common. But the left has appropriated the word liberal so effectively, almost everyone, liberals, leftists, and conservatives, thinks they are synonymous.
Okay, so I get it. He's just going to try and debunk any type of... I think what he's trying to do is he's going to say that liberalism is the extremism or something. Well, I guess we'll wait to see. But the fact that he said that liberals and leftists are almost nothing alike, like they're almost completely different, that means to me that he's going to try and single out leftists, like saying that, oh, liberals are willing to play the game that we play, and that the leftists just aren't. Like, they're the terrorists. They're the real racists. They're the real Nazis. You know what I mean? Oh, now we have no viewers. Well, that's just... Darn it! I don't know, it keeps happening. It's like always right at the beginning of the stream, we always go up and down in viewers like freaking crazy. It's like a roller coaster. And it's always on the shorts feed for some reason. I don't get it. It's weird.
But they're not.
I think that's just how YouTube like indexes the videos when you first like start streaming. Like they put it up into like the YouTubeosphere to see if people are interested in it. And then it's like, if people click away, then I guess it's not worth engaging with. And then if people like join, then it's like they pop it. They pop it up. They pop it up. You heard me about them popping it up.
1. Race. This is probably the most obvious difference between liberal and left. The liberal position on...
Yeah, see, I told you. They're gonna try and say that leftists are racists.
Race has always been, A, the color of a person's skin is insignificant, and B, those who believe race is significant are racists. Meanwhile, the left believes that...
No. No, in a vacuum, yes. I mean, like, if everything started as equal, like, everything started on an equal playing field, then yeah, sure. I mean, everyone would see, or, like, liberals and Republicans and leftists and people on the extreme right would all agree that race is insignificant. However, historically, we don't treat people that way. Historically, racism has been a thing since... Gosh, I don't know. Otherism was since we first excluded a rival tribe and then made it about their skin color or made it about them being different or looking different or acting different. Otherism has been a timeless thing. It's in our reptile brain. They've done studies on this. The studies are that conservatism is like sort of a natural mechanism. It's a natural defense mechanism against new and unfamiliar things. The reason why our reptile brain tells us to separate people based on groups is because that's how we rationalize our security. That's how we substantiate feeling secure and safe and free within our bubble. That doesn't mean that you need to do it in order to be successful. That doesn't mean that it is a good thing, but otherism exists as a defense mechanism against new and different things. That's why conservatism is sort of going the way of the dodo, because progression through time is as essential to us developing and evolving as having a strong basis and foundation, which we can thank conservative mindsets for, in order to root us in a solid foundational framework. The problem is Racism still exists to this day, and people use these arguments against, like turning it around on leftists or progressives, even really calling them the racists because they value race so much, is literally ignoring our past. And that's the erasure that PragerU is extremely well known for. So, it's fucking wild that anyone on the right side of the aisle would try to suggest that it's leftists who are racist, because the only people they're being racist against in reality is fucking white people. And I'm sorry, but who has had the most advantages? Who has been the one who have conquered the most lands, who have enslaved the most people in modern times? Like, I'm gonna say it's predominantly white people. And Dennis Prager is one of the champions of erasing that and rewriting the history books.
The very opposite. To the left, it's the liberal attitude toward race. It's unimportant. That is racist. That's why the University of California officially lists the statement, there is only one race, the human race, as racist. And liberals have always been passionately committed to racial integration, while the left is increasingly committed to racial segregation.
Nope. The thing is, if people on the left, on the extreme left, wouldn't be calling for safe spaces for people who have been historically persecuted and ostracized if that wasn't the fucking case. If there wasn't racism in America, people wouldn't be asking for all black spaces or all Latino spaces. If there wasn't transphobia in America, people wouldn't be asking for all trans spaces. If there wasn't homophobia in America, people wouldn't be asking for all gay spaces. What do we have an abundance of? All white Christian male spaces all over the fucking country. It's literally everywhere you go. It's in the fucking streets right now. That's a Christian white male space. Women, you're only tolerated. Gays, you're only tolerated as long as you, at least as of 20, 30 years ago, you're only tolerated as long as you don't get married and as long as you keep that shit behind closed doors. Otherwise, we're going to falsely accuse you of indoctrinating our children. So, no. The left does not want racial discrimination. The left wants protections for historically marginalized classes, for protected classes of people who the law doesn't protect. Fuck you, Dennis Prager.
Such as all black dormitories and separate black graduations at universities. 2.
Because what is something that you might imagine goes on at a ceremony with racist white kids when a black person goes on stage? What do you suppose is something that might happen? What do you suppose is something that they might say or do? Maybe there's no historical mention of anyone going to a school being racially discriminated. Maybe there's just nothing like that. Oh, wait, there is. The first time a group of black kids was allowed to go to an integrated school, the white adults from the neighborhood showed up with like an effigy of like I think it was like a black girl hanging like with a noose around her neck or some bullshit. Like, it is fucking wild that these adults would go to a child and say, you deserve to die because you are going to school with white kids. Absolutely fucked up. And this motherfucker would absolutely erase all that and just have you forget that it ever happened. But there is a historical... How's it going, Skippy? There is a fucking wealth of historical information that America has been racist towards non-whites. Like, if that wasn't the case, there wouldn't need to be protections. There wouldn't need to be things like DEI or affirmative action back in the day. There wouldn't need to be those things. The fact that we still have, or the fact that we still need those things means that if the administration right now is trying to take those things away, that is a racist fucking move. They're trying to justify it by saying there's no reason why white people should be made to feel upset or be disadvantaged, for their historic fucking racism. Of course not. Absolutely not. Of course not. Nah.
Liberals have always been pro-capitalism because liberals are committed to free enterprise and because they know capitalism is the only...
Liberals only are pro-capitalism because it helps them... The thing is, the rising tide lifts all fucking ships. If corporations are giving kickbacks to people that vote the way that they want, that means liberals too. That means both liberals and conservatives are both able to make money off of lobby deals. They're able to benefit from corruption. Power corrupts. If you're in a position to make an authoritative decision over something, you will be followed and you will be begged against, and people will offer you things. That's just how that works. That's how favor works. That's how power works. It's been the same since the dawn of time, man.
Only way to lift great numbers of people out of poverty. It is true that liberals want government to play a bigger role in the economy than conservatives do. But liberals never opposed capitalism, and they were never for socialism.
Neither are leftists. I think the majority of leftists just want equality. Some of them are communists. Some of them are socialists. But I don't think that anyone who claims to be a leftist would say that all leftists are socialists. I mean, you guys meaning the people on the right, like, you guys protect pedophiles, PDF files, sorry. You know, like, you guys circle the wagons around racists, around transphobics, around people who would deny other people's existence, people who give death threats, people who try to overthrow the country. Like, I mean, I feel like our side having a couple of socialists is a little bit of a disingenuous attack on the side that you disagree with. It's forgetting that your side fucking is the side of PDF files. Like,
opposition to capitalism and advocacy of socialism are left-wing values. 3.
Nope. I'm left. I would call myself a leftist, and I don't give a shit about socialism. I don't subscribe to it. It's the same thing as like atheism. Like, there's no organization of atheists. There's no like Bible for atheists. There's no one representative of atheists who lives in the Vatican version of the atheist tiny city, you know? Like, that's just not a thing. The same thing with leftists. Like, you can have the values and the mindset of a leftist and just not really call yourself anything and like be completely apolitical, and that you would still like be in favor of community programs. The thing is, we incorporated parts of socialism into our infrastructure. So ideas of social infrastructure in the first place, like having government funded programs, anything that's state funded that helps the people is typically going to be either a communistic or socialistic viewpoint, or a thing, like a value that we hold as just a nation that we grew up in. Like, fucking Social Security is a socialism. SNAP is a socialism. The post office is a communism. Like, I don't know. Like, it's okay to have some things that we are like okay with just kind of incorporating if we've always known it and never really knew anything different. But other things that we don't recognize because they're weird, because I don't know how to interpret it, that's just not okay. Sorry guys, it's not okay.
Nationalism. Liberals believe in the nation state, whether that nation is the United States, Brazil, or France.
I would not venture that any liberal would call themselves a nationalist. And that's a strange claim to make.
But because the left divides the world by class rather than by national identity, the left has always opposed nationalism. So,
what? I would think that a true globalist would be on the left side of the aisle, unless you see people as numbers, unless you are the Tony Stark variety or the Elon Musk variety, where you only see people as numbers or resources. I would think that you'd want people to thrive and to be healthy and to be happy, and that's not necessarily a nationalism. That's more trying to allow for everyone on Earth to be able to be fed and clothed and not sick all the time. That's not necessarily an anti-nationalist stance. It is a stance from people who don't want authoritarian nationalism, where you go and do regime change and you try to step in between two warring sides and get involved in their wars. That's the nationalism that you're describing. But the nationalism I think that anyone on the left would ever admit to would be the kind of nationalism where we send aid to places, where we send money to places, and where we move troops into places that are defending themselves against invasions. That kind of thing. It's, to say that leftists are nationalists is fucking crazy.
So, while liberals have always wanted to protect American sovereignty and borders, the left...
Sure. I mean, I guess, like, liberalism is, in modern day America, even 7 years ago, is very much tied to centrism. It's very much, like, center-right, as far as the overall political spectrum is considered. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just left or right and then middle. Like, the way that people kind of look at things is a little more conservative in our country because we built all the infrastructure around these establishing and then preserving certain ways of life. So running water, we need all that infrastructure. And so we would, as a nation, try to conserve the infrastructure that we set up that allowed for us to have running water. That is conservatism. But when we're talking about policy change, conservatism is more of a set of values than it is an action. And those sets of values might be at odds with people on the left side. But if we're talking about sovereignty, like, no, I wouldn't say that liberals would describe themselves as America first. I would say that they probably would describe themselves as humanitarians who want to help people around the planet. But I don't know if they would say they want to protect American sovereignty and borders. I have talked to plenty of people on the left who believe that we should have strong borders. Personally, I don't think we should have borders at all. I think that anybody should be able to move anywhere without having to, like, use papers to enter a country, and should be able to settle anywhere they want. I know that that's an extreme point of view, but I believe that. I believe that I don't think we should have state borders, or I mean, maybe state borders, so because you can have like a local municipality, simply because I believe in social programs and governmental infrastructure. But I don't believe that we should have country borders. I think that we should have, like, again, smaller municipal governments. Like, nothing beyond county would be, to me, effective. It also just seems to be like a power grab and power scaling for, like, politicians. Like, I would much rather that we just be able, like, if I wanted to live in Canada, I just would drive up to Canada, and they would just, there's this rough territory is known as Canada, and, like, you don't have to, like, cross a border to move into it. You just pack up your shit and go find a blank spot of land and then build there. I mean, at some point, there may be a degree to which all the land is taken up, but we are nowhere near that right now. I just don't believe that. I agree with Anna Kasparian a lot on stuff that I'm that type of liberal. See, I mean, that is kind of a centrist, I think, wasn't she seen as being either pro-Israel, not pro-Israel, what was the thing? Hey, XV, she had some issue, is she a TERF? I forget, she had some, like, some controversy, recently, or that she's like a tanky or something, I don't remember. It was some stance that was just, like, wildly different than, like, Cenk and all the other, like, the people who are, like, the regular talking heads about that stuff. And I was like, wow, that's wild that she just, like, because she gets pissed. Like, she's kind of one of those people that gets, like, really pissed at, like, her own side for, like, being feckless and not really doing anything. But, like, I think she's got some pretty obtuse views on a pretty controversial subject, which I think is why, like, when I hear Anna's voice being put into a group of other voices that support a certain thing, like, I'm always like, yeah, but do I trust her anymore?
Is for open borders. When the writers of Superman were liberals, Superman was a proud American whose very motto was truth, justice, and the American way.
Back when American sensationalism was a thing, yeah. We were just exiting, World War II? Or not just exiting, we were just about to... When did they create Superman? '30s, maybe, right? No, comics... 38, yeah. So we were deeply entrenched in the post-orgasm torture of winning World War II. I think a lot of people were like, "Fuck yeah, America! Yeah, fuck yeah!" Kissing babies and kissing, like, sailors, and, like, kissing donkeys and like, you know, I don't know why everybody was making out back then, but everybody was just like deep tongue fucking each other's throats. Post World War II, Superman got invented because I think two Jewish refugees decided that they wanted to create an icon to the burgeoning superhero scene. They had like detective comics or something. There were some other comic strips that were out at that point. I mean, he's still like kind of a bitch for the government, Superman. If anything, he's kind of gone away from the government and then back into the government. And so if we're talking about modern Superman, he's pretty patriotic. All right. I don't know what you're trying to argue here if he's all of a sudden stopped being patriotic, but he is not. But we're talking about American sensationalism. This was a big, big fucking thing that happened for the boomers right when they came home from World War II. Everyone was all like, rah, rah, America, fuck yeah. That was never untrue. And nobody on the left is trying to make that untrue. And this has nothing to do with the difference between leftists and liberals.
But that all changed a few years ago when left-wing writers took over the comic strip.
You clearly are not ever reading Superman.
And had Superman renounce his American citizenship to be a citizen of the world.
I mean, when Watchtower went up, sure. But he still capitulates to the president. Like, he's still an American superhero. Like, I think it was in the pushback, probably. When was this, 7 years ago? And he said in recent years. So this was 2019. And he says recent years, so that could be like 2014, 2015. And chances are, I mean, in some pushback to the burgeoning alt-right movement and the resurgence of lots of like racist and really what I would consider anti-patriotic ideals, like support of racism and erasure of slavery and things like that, I believe were what caused Superman to tell the rest of the world that he is now a citizen of the world and not of just America, because America's doing some fucking shitty bullshit. You know? Just saying. But more recently, he has actually, I think he's way into being the president's errand boy, from recent memory of comics.
The left has contempt for nationalism, seeing it as the road to fascism. Better that we should all...
Yes, absolutely. If you're talking about the nationalism that I was talking about, you think that it is, which is going into other countries and taking over their governments, yes. That's what I would consider nationalism bad. I would say yes. Nationalism bad. But if you're talking about nationalism in the sense that you say that liberals accept, I would say, okay. Sure, send aid to other countries. Absolutely. Help them out. All that kind of stuff. Absolutely. You know, I'd be totally into that. You know, that's just not the case. That we mean two different versions of the word nationalism.
All be citizens of the world in a world without borders. 4. View of...
Well, people can't be illegal, and if an alien is from outer space and is not subject to our laws, then our laws don't apply to it. Especially if it's not operating. If he was entering the atmosphere, not operating as an alien, if he's just kind of like an outer atmosphere being, I don't see that as being. I don't think that can be like. I don't think that can fall under an American law. I think that you have to like make a global law for that. I mean, we have international law. I think you'd have to make an international law for that. But also, if he landed in Kansas. If he had landed in international waters, then I don't think he would have been bound by any country's laws. So he wouldn't have been able to be illegal at all. Like, it would have been impossible. He would just be an alien. But I think if you don't cross a border, are you considered entering a country? That would have to be a trial. That would be a really good story to write, like, for Superman, would be someone, like, going back and saying, like, you know, trying to hold him accountable for landing illegally in Kansas. And it would parallel, like, real life. Like, it would be, you know, someone who has a bone to pick with immigration enforcement. And you could write it like, you know, almost 50 years after Superman has, or whatever, canonically, after 50 years, well, Earth doesn't have borders, XV, at all. It doesn't have borders. We don't claim Earth. We claim countries in Earth. That's just not a thing. But it could be like some like really overzealous lawyer would be like trying to prosecute him for entering the country illegally, and he would then have to defend himself. And his defense could be something like super quirky, like, right, but if you enter if you enter America from above, does it still count? You know? I feel like that would be a hilarious angle to take. Well, the atmosphere isn't a border. If Superman can not have to breathe in either space or Earth, he technically doesn't have to breathe. And if he doesn't have to breathe, then, you know, we can't consider that, nor is he subject to pressure, atmospheric pressure, nor is he subject necessarily to gravity. Well, he is subject to gravity, but still. I think there are probably some loopholes that can be made to allow Superman to not be airplane. What about airplanes? You can't just say the word airplanes with no explanation. What the fuck does airplanes have to do with anything? Jesus. Airplanes. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Yep.
Of America. Liberals have always venerated America. Watch American films from the 1930s through the 1950s, and you'll be watching overtly patriotic, America-celebrating film.
Yeah, what was happening in the 1930s to the 1950s? I mean, I already said it, but I guess we can make sure if you were paying attention. Airplanes flying over the border, but he didn't fly over the border. He was from outer space. You can't, borders are not a dome, because we don't expect people to come from outer space into the United States. Like, how high? I mean, I know that there are no fly zones, and there are like air zones. What is it? Air traffic zones. What is that called? Fly territory. Yeah, there's certain places you're not allowed to fly over. But if the capsule from outer space does not enter any of those little bubbles, you could get around it.
Virtually all produced, directed, and acted by liberals. Liberals were quite aware of America's imperfections, but they agreed with Abraham Lincoln that America is the last best hope of Earth. The left...
What we did in the 30s and 50s aren't even relevant to him at this time in 7 years ago. 7 years in the past. Like, his fucking... He flew onto American soil without any permission. That doesn't matter. Law doesn't cover people coming from outer space. So that would have to be an entirely new law. Or we'd have to rewrite the existing one. Like the 30s to 50s, like that wasn't... that was an era of American exceptionalism. We thought America was super cool because we went in and we helped World War II be won. And there's a lot of elation that comes with that feeling. And so, like, I mean, it's hard to not look, or it's hard to look at what Hollywood was doing at the time. It's hard to look at what entertainment was doing at the time. It's hard to look at any of the art from that time and be like, oh, well, the leftists seemed, or the liberals, I guess, and leftists seemed really angry that we had won the war. Like, nobody's going to think that. What you're trying to do is you're trying to just discredit anyone further left than center. That's all Dennis Prager is trying to do in this.
Left, however, believes the left is the last best hope of Earth and regards...
No! If you're stupid, you'd probably like this video. If you're really fucking dumb, then you probably enjoy this video. The thing about this is that the left doesn't collectively believe anything for America. The left is all about helping humans. They want to provide equality and inclusiveness and acceptance for other human beings and some animals. Lots of PETA pushers on the left side. But it's all humanitarian causes. If you look at this on the surface level with, well, the left wants this and the right wants this, then yeah, you can definitely pigeonhole them into something that seems offensive to anybody who isn't themselves. Yeah, absolutely. You can demonize any group that you want by using fucking philosophy. Sure. That doesn't make them that thing. And to people who don't care about looking further in deeper in under the surface to what their actual values are, it's just going to ring true to them through confirmation bias. It's just going to be like, oh yeah, that's what I remember hearing about the left. Yep, there you go. That comports with what I remember. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But that doesn't mean, again, that it's true. The left, what was it? The left thinks that, yeah, the left thinks that the left is the last best hope of Earth. Like that doesn't mean shit. Like that doesn't mean anything that anybody's actually trying to push for. Like nobody's saying, hey, I think it's only going to be the left that helps people. Like there are definitely people on the left who believe that it is important that we get together and come together as whatever system we end up as in the future, like to try and work through these problems like ourselves. And like I just don't think, aren't you left? Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not. I don't believe that the left is the last best hope of Earth. And neither do a lot of people. People believe, by and large, that you have to work together as a functioning society, which includes people of contrasting viewpoints, in order to provide the last best hope of Earth. It takes both parties getting together. If we had 5 parties, it would take all 5 parties getting together to be the last best hope of Earth. It's not about the left. It's not about left versus right at all. It's about who has more versus who has less. And the people who have more tend to want the people who have less and stay that way because they want to have power over somebody. Then why are you left? Because I want inclusivity and cooperation and intersectionality and equality and empathy, and I want that to be the basis by which we operate. From a place of empathy, from a place of good intent, from a place of good faith, from honesty, transparency, all those things. And if we decide that the government has to be more involved in our everyday rights in order to get that done, then I'm in approval of that. Because apparently the Republicans can't play nice. So they have to have their toys taken away, which means they have to have laws made against stuff that they do in order to make society function well. And society is only going to function well if we're able to learn and develop new ways of handling society's problems. Like conservatism is just going to die out as a policy, as a feeling, as a drive to do things, because you cannot learn without changing or growing. You cannot learn without getting outside of your comfort zone. You're not center if you have extreme opinions of both. That doesn't make any sense. If you could explain that in a way that does make sense, I would help. I think it's in a response to Skippy. I have extreme left and extreme right opinions, and they balance out, so I'm center. Yeah, I mean, you could. I mean, I would take a political compass test and just see where you fall. But it really, what would you say that an extreme right view that you have is? Because extreme right mostly just means like fiscal dominance, government, complete government uninvolvement in everything. That means you don't pay taxes. That means that you no longer are helping your community develop infrastructure. And it's up to them, it's up to every individual to then make their own way. And there are some people who are born into under circumstances that do not allow them to make their own way. So that would be self-contradictory. I don't know. It would be interesting to see what far-right views you have, Skippy.
And regards America as racist.
I do feel like when I first met you, you had an opinion on Israel or some foreign conflict or something like that. I don't remember. I don't pay taxes. Well, you don't live in America, do you? I don't remember where you said you were from, but I don't think you said you lived in America. I thought you lived in a different country. But you should pay taxes, as long as it goes to the right place. You know? If it goes to like infrastructure, if it goes to public services, then you should pay taxes. That's a good thing, you know? It makes you feel good.
Sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, violent.
Well, no. Again, to Dennis Prager, I would say no. Again, just making shit up. The left does not believe that America is... Like, I think my problem with this is that he thinks that the left is saying that America is, always has been, always will be these things. That's not what the left believes.
Racist, sexist.
The left changes, like depending on. I mean, it's I guess more of kind of a reactionary. Like reactionaries are kind of what it would be like sort of where libertarianism would be like where reactionaries are. But if we're taking reactionary like just in the spirit of how it means, then that would be kind of more of a left. Like we would develop policies and try to make laws that would change change the things that the right is trying to implement. So like erasure of slavery. If they're trying to like change the way that history books are written in schools, then that would be something that would be a reactionary law or measure that the left would then have to come out with in order to protect history. That kind of thing. So that's what I mean when I say like the left has reactionaries. I don't want random dudes to have my money. It's not random. It's always going to a specific place. That's my right-wing stuff. You mean so being able to hunt is right-wing to you? You know that there are plenty of gun owners and hunters on the left side, right? Hunting is not extreme right-wing. Yep, correct, it is not. The meat we harvest is much healthier than store-bought. Butchering and dressing your own animal is also not extreme right-wing. You're talking about lifestyle, man. I'm talking about policy. You're saying that you live the country boy lifestyle, which is, so do I. Like, I'm a through and through hunter, fisher. I have done all those things. I love going out and camping and helping to reduce the wildlife population just as much as any red-blooded American. My family's Southern, man. Like it's in my blood. I have to. I have the urge, like at least 3 times a year, you know. But yeah, I wouldn't consider that right wing.
Homophobic, xenophobic, violent, and imperialistic. 5. Free speech. No one.
Just to cap off what he said about what the left thinks about America. Hey, Helmet, how's it going? It's not. We didn't just wake up one day and think, wow, America's really racist and xenophobic and all that stuff, homophobic, whatever. Like, no. No, it's the policies that the right comes out with that usually drive people to the right, because those policies are racist and homophobic and xenophobic and all that kind of stuff. It's the policies that people don't like. It's not just labels. We're not just like calling people names. When someone calls someone else a Nazi, they might be just calling them a name, but in general, when people call each other Nazis, or like when the left calls somebody on the right a Nazi, it's typically because they're doing Nazi things. And it's really interesting that the right really tries to rewrite history on who the Nazis were and say, well, I don't ever call myself a Nazi. Right. But the Nazis could have been any other name of their party. It could have been the Fribbledy-Dibblies. And I would still say, wow, you're really sounding like a Fribbledy-Dibbledy right now. It would be a Wallaby-Doo. And I'd be like, wow, you're really sounding like a Wallaby-Doo right now. Like, it doesn't matter. The term doesn't fucking matter. And for the right, that's like, oh, that's an own. We're owning the left by saying, oh, well, prove that I'm a Nazi. I don't claim to be a National Socialist. As if that's some kind of a table flip moment. It doesn't really land, does it? People call me a redneck, just assume I'm right-wing, and just assume I'm right-wing because I live in the sticks. But that doesn't mean that you're right-wing. So going out and hunting with your you said with your pops, I wouldn't consider that right-wing at all. And you said that you have extreme right-wing views. So I'd say no. I'd say that doesn't qualify. And yeah, I'm with XV. Why would people call you redneck? That seems mean.
Has been more committed than American liberals to the famous statement,
no. Shut up. No.
I wholly disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it.
Voltaire. I don't know if you knew that, but Voltaire, pretty sure, or Thomas Aquinas, who said it? I'm pretty sure it was Voltaire. I may not agree with what you say, but it's all in there in the suggested. What was Evelyn Beatrice Hall? I thought it is commonly misattributed to the French philosopher Voltaire. Ah, see? I was one of the misattributors. Evelyn Beatrice Hall, under the pseudonym S.G. Talentire, in her 1906 book, The Friends of Voltaire. Okay. Oh, to summarize his attitude towards free expression. Okay, cool. I would say that in 1700s France, or in 1900 whatever, was it England or whatever, in French culture, when Voltaire was around talking about free expression, they would have all agreed on what terminology is okay and what isn't, and what policies are okay and what isn't among their own side. They wouldn't be talking about the proletariat and saying, hey, Queen, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. Not to the Queen, certainly not. So you're talking about two different scenarios here. One scenario, you have people who are trying to erase the impact of slavery, who are trying to deny reparations to people who definitely deserve them. You have people who are implementing policies who keep people under the poverty line specifically because it allows them to enrich themselves, because they think that money is a zero-sum game. In this society, you have not just disagreements, but stochastic terrorism. People doing calls to action for violence over other people's opinions. People being arrested for their opinions. So it's not simply a society in this day and age where we can say, I disagree with you, but I think you have the right to say what you want. That's just a really easy excuse to be racist or a Nazi. The people on the left are not necessarily free speech absolutists. I've heard many people that I've grown up with over the years just say like, man, like I feel like free speech was a mistake. And I may not necessarily agree with that. I think operationally, I think people should be allowed to dig their own holes. But when you're talking about stochastic terrorism, where people are using things like the Bible or things like the Constitution to elicit violence against another party, I would say that's where we should draw the line. Stochastic terrorism absolutely should be illegal, and it should be stipulated in the Constitution. People have died from stochastic terrorism. Like, just what was it? The Boston bombing, like, saw a guy beat like half to death. There was the guy who was expressing anti-MAGA sentiment who was like beaten to death on a bike trail. And like, there's that woman who was talking out against, it was either Gaza or talking out against the Iran war, who was arrested. Specifically arrested because she was reporting on something that the Trump administration did not want her reporting on. So, I mean, if you honor free speech and you say that all groups are equal and they're all have the same equity and they're all allowed to express themselves and be who they want, then I guess free speech is fine, because and I would die to protect that if it came to that, because you would understand as another reasonable human being that it's not cool to be racist and homophobic and transphobic and all those kinds of things just by default. Because the people that he was telling this to were a collection of people, of citizens who all were in the same fucking boat. Politically. If that wasn't clear. So, really, really taking that quote out of context and trying to apply it to a situation where it is not beneficial to anybody.
But the left is leading the first widespread suppression of free speech in modern American history.
And that never happened. Weird, right? It's almost like Dennis Prager's just making shit up.
From the universities, to the tech companies that govern the internet, to almost every other institution and place of work. Of course, the left...
Nope. People simply won't allow you to be racist. That's it. That is really the only restriction that people put on free speech, is they're not allowing you to be openly racist or misogynistic, or you're not allowed to just say those things in workplaces which are not governed by the government, except for financially, right? Like taxes and everything. Like you can't just swoop in and tell a policy who they can and cannot hire, except for when affirmative action and DEI are needed. But you guys engineered that.
Claims to only oppose hate speech. But putting aside the fact that the left means hate...
The left claims to only be opposed to hate speech. But I'm assuming he's saying that the left is like in control of what they consider as hate speech, and they consider everything hate speech. That's my guess is what he's going to say.
Speech, anything it differs with, protecting what you or I might consider hate speech is the entire point of free speech.
No. No. It hasn't been that way for a very long time. It hasn't been that way for 30 years, 40 years, something like that.
6. Western civilization.
Just one little blurb about free speech. Hey, guys, just so you know, you have to be a free speech absolutist, otherwise you support racism. Fucking Christ, dude.
Liberals have always championed and sought to protect Western civilization. Liberals celebrate the...
What? I feel like everyone on the left is some kind of hippie woo-woo or a Catholic. And there's plenty of Protestants and Lutherans, too. But, like, what? The left, or liberals celebrate the West? What? What a weird value to have as a political party, but okay. I guess
the
go
West's
on.
Unique moral, philosophical, artistic, musical, and literary achievements, and have taught them at virtually every university. The most revered liberal in American political history, President Franklin Roosevelt, often cited the need to protect Western civilization and even Christian civilization.
Well, no, Helmet, that's what I've described a million times on here. Like, I think it's important that people be allowed to oust themselves from the rest of society. I'm one of those free speech absolutists that wants the Nazis to out themselves. I want them to be able to say they're Nazis so we can be like, all right, well, he's going to never have any peace or quiet ever again in his life. Like, just reveal your true nature, man. Like, engage with freedom of speech any way you want. I welcome it. Sadly, a lot of people don't agree with that. And I would think that it's the people who don't want their opinion known who don't agree with that. Or maybe who are afraid that their family member, or friend, or significant other is going to be one of those people, and they're like, no, I just don't want to know. I'd be like that. I'd be like, please, please, don't tell me my wife is MAGA, please.
Yet when President Donald Trump spoke of the need to protect Western civilization in a speech in Warsaw, the left-wing media, also known as the mainstream media, denounced him.
The left-wing media, also known as the mainstream media. Wow, go fuck yourself, Dennis Prager. There are definitely left-wing media outlets like Al Jazeera. Not really, even. That's pretty. I don't know. NPR. You know, like the Young Turks. But mainstream. Donald Trump owns CBS now. He owns ABC. He is this close to owning Disney. he has the top people in the top positions of at least 3 of the most widespread news organizations. So it's only really Donald Trump's voice that people are hearing. So the mainstream media would be Donald Trump's media, regardless of whether people realize it or not. Yes, ABC is a Disney company it's a Christian company, though they've tried very hard to make themselves not seem Christian. And what was it? CBS is now headed by a MAGA person. So, congratulations! I hope you guys like news. That isn't true.
They argue that Western civilization is no better than any other, and that Western civilization is just a euphemism for white supremacy. So
it can be, yeah. Especially the way that people are trying to spread that idea now. It is definitely rooted in some white nationalism. which is an aspect of white supremacy. I mean, the leftist position is just that people should be equal, but I think you're kind of perverting that, not kind of, really perverting that, trying to turn it into something where it's like the leftists believe that nobody's good.
So then, if liberalism and leftism are so different, why don't liberals oppose the left? In a nutshell, because they have been taught all their lives to fear the right. But as one of the best...
What? Why don't liberals call out the actions of the left? I mean, there's infighting on the left side of the aisle all the fucking time. That notwithstanding, because they're afraid of the right? I mean, he's saying it like it's an enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of situation, but that's not really, I think, how people treat politics. People vote for what they vote for, and I think on the right side of the aisle, there's a lot of like what they would call virtue signaling, where they're always talking about how well dedicated they are to the values of the right. We don't do those purity tests on the left. I don't know if you guys know that, but we don't do those purity tests. We don't have all of our members have to present their card of membership to the left anytime there's a gathering. That's just not something that happens. The left tends to just kind of do their thing. There are some people who are politically active, and there are some people who are not. That's about it. That's the long and short of it. We really usually don't think about politics that much until there's some Nazi shit going on. You didn't get a membership card? Not this year. Not this election cycle.
Best known liberals in America, Harvard Law School.
They must have lost my address.
Alan Dershowitz said, "As a liberal, as an American, and as a Jew, I far more fear the left than the right."
Alan Dershowitz is probably one of the most far-right liberals I've ever known. He is actively in support of Trump now. So he's definitely not, he's not in any way a liberal at this point anymore. I mean, it's the same thing like with Tulsi Gabbard and that one fucker who was in Congress. What was his name? Oh, he was the one like center-left guy who had like a bunch of boats, and he was super rich, but he was always like one of the deciding votes along with Kirsten Sinema. Can't remember his name, but he was douchebag, and that's like what Dershowitz is. Like, I think it's like the same kind of thing where Trump always like has at least a few shots during his rallies where he's got like black people in the background. It's like all black people, and it's like Blacks for Trump, like on a banner or something. It's your token performance people that you trot out the minstrel show kind of thing, you know. Hey, there are a few good ones, right? Ooh.
Dear liberals, conservatives are not your enemy. The left is. I'm Dennis Pretty. To help keep these videos...
Dear liberals, I made up a lot of stuff in this video, and you should probably recognize that you're part of the right already, and just come over and join us. Why the hell not? You know? Just make the change permanent. Give in. Give in. All right, now let's take a look at the most popular video on Answers in Genesis.
Clearly, Jesus loves me the most.
Maybe minority.
All right, so we've got some exploitation already. We've got some pretty morbid and dark themes. Let's hope that he's not trying to make fun of someone who's having a real medical emergency because he thinks that it's because they lack faith in God, but I have a feeling that's what he's going to do. Trigger warning, by the way. I don't know what the trigger would be for, but it's for extreme trauma, I would say. There's Republican Clayfuller 1. Yeah, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been kind of like off the MAGA wagon for a while. So it doesn't surprise me that a different Republican would have been able to unseat her. It would have been real nice if she could have, like, you know, done something good on her way out. It would have been real nice. But she's a wackadoo anyway. She may not be calling herself MAGA, but she's definitely still America first.
Sexual and gender minorities have something to teach the church about dying to self, about new life, about...
Okay, whoa. What just happened with all of that? Let's get a bit more context on that first clip. So in that first clip, we have a comedian named Heather McDonald, and she's essentially boasting about all the jabs.
Why is it in Portuguese? I don't speak Portuguese. So I'm not sure why the captions would be in Portuguese right now. But you know, I guess if that's how you want to roll, YouTube, then you know. Que feo!
That she has gotten and how that's benefited her to one degree or another. And then she boasts, hey, I'm perfectly fine after all of that. Jesus must love me the most. And then she immediately falls over.
Traveled, went to Mexico twice.
I love Heather McDonald, by the way. If you can't see her very well, nope. Comedian, that's her. Oh, you can't see her very well. Yep. There you go. She was in a lot of comedy stuff. She has been in a bunch of stuff, just crazy amounts of stuff, and she's pretty funny in the stuff that she's in. I'm guessing that it was a stroke or a seizure or something. Let me just see. The McDonald, her collapsing was shown in the died suddenly anti-vax film. Fuck. Oh man, hilarious. Yada yada. It's the new form of warfare. Dead can't speak for himself. Yada yada. Sat in her studio, Woodland Hills, prepping for a week podcast. Posted a week. Views of her collapse. She's definitely not dead. I know that. Sometimes there'll be people saying, oh my gosh, I saw you on something, yada yada. Did she say why she fainted? I'm trying to find anything. There we go. She said she felt dizzy at the start of her set, and had she not been on stage in front of friends and family for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, she would have simply sat back down instead of trying to fight through it. There you go. Pretty easy to see exactly what happened. She was feeling dizzy. And, you know, if you're a performer, you typically aren't drinking enough water. You're going days without eating so that you can fit into whatever the suit is that you're trying to fill into. And it's very easy. A lot of celebrities get faint and collapse. And most of the time it's off stage and it's outside of a performance. But a lot of them do. A lot of them do. More than you would think. So here she is. She is doing stand-up for the first time since the pandemic. She's in front of friends and family, and she is nervous to all get out. She's probably, you know, trying to take a bunch of different meds that she's been taking I know that I was on some meds. There's a bunch of people who are on meds during the pandemic because of both depression, because of malnourishment, all kinds of stuff. You know, vitamin D even. There's even some supplements that make you feel dizzy if you haven't eaten a full meal. And I know that there's a lot of pressure on women to be, you know, a certain shape and size. And so, she probably felt like she had to fulfill whatever image of herself that she had in her head. And it was fucking with her brain. And so she probably collapsed because of all of those factors put together. Not fucking God.
Did shows, meet and greets, never got COVID. Clearly, Jesus loves me.
She sounds like she's about to go into a seizure or something. It sounds like something. It sounds like something's wrong. Oh yes, there is. I apply that pressure. What are you referencing?
Be the most. Seriously. so nice. So nice.
Yeah. So, if you're not familiar with these events on television, what's her face? Whitney, not Whitney. The lady who had, she's a black lady. She had a television show. Wendy Williams. She collapsed on stage during one of her shows. And, you know, there have been plenty of celebrities who've collapsed on camera. It's not an act of God. And he's about to frame it as it being an act of God, which is really sad and a little bit exploitative because he's trying to push his message across. She was also used in, again, as we read just now, she was also used in the footage for the documentary Died Suddenly, which is, again, monstrous. Like, you're saying this woman died. Like, and it was because of vaccinations. And now she collapses because of God. What the fuck, dude? Yeah, have a good one, Helmet.
Wow. So in case you're wondering, she did survive the event. She is okay, but the response and the feedback was pretty unforgettable. And there seemed to be an immediate response to her words, maybe from God. Wouldn't be dogmatic about that, but it was.
No, not in any way, shape, or form. If you hear what she's saying before she collapses, she does not sound good. She sounds like she is about to collapse. So I wouldn't be attributing it to God.
Wasn't good.
Jesus loves me the most.
Did you hear that? She was slurring.
Okay. There's a video trend going around you might call instant regret. That's where someone does something bad and gets almost.
Oh my God. I feel like I'm going to be so angry at this man for framing this the way that he is. Well, that's what you get. Fuck around and find out. Fuck you.
Immediate negative feedback from their actions. And these videos highlight the seemingly instant connection from those bad deeds to those unfortunate consequences.
You don't have to explain instant regret videos. You don't have to explain instant karma memes. You don't have to explain any of that shit. People understand. If they're on here watching you, they know what the fucking instant karma videos are.
And it's not confined just to flippant blasphemies. Maybe you've seen what happens.
It's not just confined to flippant blasphemies. Nobody gets smoten as a result of saying something against God. Fuck God. Fuck you, God. Fuck you, God. Fuck you, God. Your little Jesus is a little bitch. He was a little bitch when he was a little baby. Fuck you, God. Am I smoten? Nope. And any Christian would probably be like, oh, well, you just wait. Just wait. God will exact his vengeance upon you. I've been doing this for how long? And I ain't been smoten. So circumstances can line up. Things can happen that are outside of the plans or intentions of the people that they surround. But it's not magic. It's certainly not God. Holy shit. Get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? I said holy shit. You get it? It was that. I thought it was good.
Happens when porch pirates try to come and steal boxes off the porch.
And so apparently, God is going to go ahead and take some time out of his day of killing children and creating natural disasters that kill a bunch of innocent people. He's going to take his time away from that. And he's going to go and he's going to try and smote someone who is stealing a package from a porch. That's what God wants to do with all of his endless power. Interesting.
Porch. Check it out. Don't do it.
Right. Someone overburdening themselves, becoming over-encumbered, for my Skyrim fans, and then falling as a result of not being able to see where she's going on uneven terrain in a high-stress situation where anyone could catch her at any time? Sure. Totally an act of God. You fucking wackadoo. And you're laughing. You're laughing at somebody getting an injury. Obviously, they were doing something wrong, but that doesn't mean that you get to laugh at them because they're caught on camera. Chances are they were definitely prosecuted for this. I mean, I guess it doesn't speak to me just knowing that preachers are supposed to be above all this, to his legitimacy that he's laughing at someone getting hurt like that, regardless of the circumstances. You're not supposed to take joy in others' suffering, especially as a clergy.
Okay, she's not the...
And I feel like that's staged. Because every single video that I've seen where it's like literally every single one where someone's trying to steal something and either they fall or get caught or whatever, the driver just goes. I don't think I've ever seen someone try to get out and help the person who's like left behind. They understand what the risks are and they just, like, pretty sure.
The only one. There's a porch pirate crime spree, if you will, happening, and where people are actually stealing a lot of packages off people's porches for any number of reasons. So much so that it's actually...
For any number of reasons? What? Like, are they going to have sex with that package? I take joy in Trump. Suffering, yeah. I would too. But that's someone who's done a bunch of horrible things. If you're poor and you're stealing baby blankets because, like, you need them, then, or if you're stealing, like, packages in order to sell the things so that you can feed your baby, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be laughing at them falling down and hurting themselves.
Generated a...
Because that's typically going to be a hospital bill that they're going to have to pay that they couldn't afford to pay in the first place, and then thrusting them even deeper into poverty.
Vigilante
and possibly jail.
Response by some. In particular, you have Mark Rober, an engineer and YouTuber. He's created an entire series of videos where he constructs these glitter bombs, all right, that look like real Amazon packages.
Okay, but this is not God. Are we attributing Mark Rober to God? He's a content creator. He makes stuff. He makes videos for YouTube. It's the God of the algorithm that drives him.
But they're actually full of glitter, really bad smells, and cameras to record the thief after they do the deed. And it is pretty entertaining and exciting. Check this out. This guy
Entertaining and exciting. This is a grown-up child.
Took a package from my porch, and now he's about to open it in his car, but what he doesn't know...
I'm going to keep letting it play, but if this is your first time joining the stream, then I have to do this spiel every time, just so you know, XV. I am about to turn the face cam off, and that is simply because I am about to smoketh on the cannabis. If you happen to be a medicator or a recreational user of cannabis, then please feel free to hit the bong as well. I'm going to turn the camera off, but I am going to keep the video playing, and I'm still right here. All right. Give it about 5 seconds, and then let's blast off.
This is a custom-built bait package that is recorded.
And a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And cheers, and smoke them if you got them, etc., etc.
Along with some other surprises. So it appears he was walking down the sidewalk and then suddenly makes a hard left. Then he takes the package and gets in his car and eventually makes it to this parking garage where this glorious sequence unfolds.
All right, so that's what happens when thieves steal packages off porches, and it's pretty entertaining and actually kind of fun to watch in a lot of different ways. But what about other sins connected to immediate responses? What about obviously false teachers? At times, they may receive what seems to be an instant rebuke for their actions. For example, take quote-unquote Pastor Brandon Robertson. Claims to be a Christian, claims to be a pastor, but uses terms very loosely with him. He spouts a lot of heretical nonsense, utterly anti-biblical ideas, especially about the LGBTQ ideology and sexuality and so forth and so on. And in this next clip, he is trying to push, again, this ideology within a Christian context. It seems to get what would be almost an instant rebuke for what he's peddling. Check it out.
Maybe minorities, sexual and gender minorities, have something to teach the church about dying to self, about new life, about...
Right. Again, not God. Not magic. I mean, I guess you can consider that an act of God. But really, it's, I would say, just probably a group of maybe lighting or sound technicians that doesn't know what they're doing. Want to know how I know that? Because I was the sole lighting technician for my local church growing up. No, when I started, 9 years old. So I would say that problems that happen in a church that regard any kind of audio or visual or lighting or anything like that, any kind of stage element, I would say that you're really fucking stupid if you think that it's an act of God, or if it's God's response to something. That's really stupid, really dumb, very dumb. It's very incredibly dumb, and it makes you look really stupid if you believe that. I know I repeated those words a lot, but I truly believe them. And repeating something is how we summon the devil. All right, because as all Christians know, the the entire community of atheists is somehow demonic and Satan worshiping. So, I just got to do me, right? I got to engage in the rituals and the summoning, right? Because otherwise, what what kind of atheist am I? If I don't do that. So, hang on, I just got to clean this glass piece real quick, and then we can go back and I want to comment on the last thing he said before starting this clip, because it's important. It's important to address.
Especially about the LGBTQers. At times, they may receive what seems to be an instant rebuke for their actions. For example, take quote-unquote
He's talking about false
pretty
teachers.
entertaining and actually kind of fun to watch in a lot of different ways. But what about other sins connected to immediate responses? What about obviously false teachers?
Why is he a false teacher? Apparently, he's a false teacher because he teaches... what do you think happens when we die? I don't know. Never thought about it. It's never been something I really spent time on. If I was to just answer it on the fly, I would say that our consciousness does something, it goes somewhere else, or it fades out, or whatever. If it was still around, we would definitely have been able to measure that by now. But if we can't determine where the consciousness goes, then I don't know if I would be able to reasonably assume where it goes. But I don't think that anyone living on Earth right now has ever been contacted by a person who has passed away. So I would assume that it goes a place that we cannot perceive, or dissipates. And our bodies, I mean, we just go back into the earth, man. That's about it. I don't think that we are ever going to be able to measure whether or not we perceive something after we die. I think that if you were to just rely on near-death experiences, you'd be relying on misfiring synapses and responses to severe trauma and things like that. So they're unreliable. But I don't overall have a preconceived notion of what happens when we die, personally.
At times, they may receive what seems to be an instant rebuke for their actions. For example,
So no. He said sometimes there may be, but who created our souls then? I don't know. Nobody will ever be able to figure that out. Not in probably not in the entire history of mankind will anyone ever be able to definitively determine that.
example, take quote-unquote Pastor Brandon.
The only reason that he is saying that this guy is not a real pastor is because he is accepting of the LGBT community. That's it. It's the only reason he's saying that.
Robertson claims to be a Christian, claims to be a pastor, but uses terms very loosely with him. He spouses
Claims to be a Christian, claims to be a pastor, follows the same book as you, follows the same doctrines as you. The only thing that you guys differ on is acceptance and inclusion of LGBTQ individuals. And all you did was interpret a single passage in the Bible, to mean that gay people aren't okay. That's fucked up, man. Like, what? I don't know, man. I just think it's fucked up. I just think it's extra fucked up. Like, I know that it is common for people to say that homosexuality is unnatural. No, we see homosexuality in nature. We see same-sex couples pair up all the fucking time. Penguins do it constantly. Dolphins, indiscriminately fucking each other. Chimpanzees, baboons, dogs seem to have lifelong companionships with members of the same dog gender. Like, it's pretty ubiquitous. And I would say that we've just spent a very long time trying to hide it from our gentle, pure eyes. Fuck, man.
About a lot of heretical nonsense, utterly anti.
That's no. The only thing you're talking about is acceptance of trans people and LGBTQ people. That's it. That's it.
Biblical ideas, especially about the LGBTQ ideology and sexuality.
Right. Do they think it's unnatural only because they can't create kids? Well, that's, again, you're engaging in another binary there, right? Like if we were members of the primal, old days, fight or flight kind of reptile brain environment, we would, like, men would be fucking, like, dudes, like boy gender penis havers would be fucking all kinds of different females to try and spread their seed as far as possible. So there wouldn't necessarily be monogamy, and they might have a perpetual mate that they hang out with who is their same gender, and that way they would still be able to procreate even if they were in a same-sex relationship. So if we were to abide by all that shit, we'd be, slamming babies into walls. So, I mean, that's obviously not going to happen, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, if we were doing what we were supposed to be naturally doing, we'd be spreading our seeds regardless of what garden they were spread in. It wouldn't matter. That's how species proliferate, baby. That's how they get in there and do that thing and do the, hey, oh, wow, oh, bafo, badinga. How many other silly phrases and words can I make up? Kabalabu, shabalabe, havalabaga, bang.
And so forth and so on. And in this next clip, he is trying to push, again, this ideology within a Christian context. It seems.
So, I think if you follow the same Bible, if you have a church, if you're able to, like, have the church and you like you're in the building and it's not just like a tent out in the middle of a field. If you got a building, if you got some substantial number of parishioners behind you, if you got all kinds of people who agree with you and who attend church and they attend all these community gatherings, and then you have people who aren't necessarily a part of your religion who come to you and still engage with you as part of the community, and they tend to like you more than other priests, there's a chance that it may be you that's the bad pastor and not that guy. Meaning, this guy is not the one who has all the friends and stuff. It's this guy who has the friends and stuff because he's more inclusive. And if that's the case, that probably makes you less of a good Christian in terms of pastorship than the other guy. Because you follow all the same stuff. You preach all the same ideas. The only thing that's different is that you don't like gay people, and they do. I don't know. I would say it would be easy for me to decide which church I would want to attend. You're ragging on my tent. I lived in a tent for summer once when I was hella poor and broken. I actually love camping, okay? So don't fucking get it twisted, all right? I just don't think you should hold church in a tent and be considered an established, credible church. Living in a tent does not suck.
Seems to get would be almost an instant rebuke for what he's peddling. Check it out.
Maybe minorities, sexual and gender minorities, have something to teach the church about dying to self, about new life, about...
If anything, that seems to be God going like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Get it, bitch. If anything, that's what God was saying. Because thunder is God clapping, right? So he's going like, yep. But we don't, you don't, for those who are sensory dependent, you don't really clap that much anymore. It's better to just do that. See, even the crowd thinks that it's God who's expressing his approval. Why would Christians support gays when it says it's not allowed? It doesn't say that. It simply just says if men should lie with another man, it's an abomination. But that doesn't describe what they're doing. It doesn't describe what their relationship is. It doesn't describe it. And in Leviticus, we were actually talking about in terms of like servants and slaves and how you should treat the people around you. So it's entirely possible that the context is different than being in a relationship with a person of the same sex. That it is more like a nation or fraternal based or population based thing. Because I think in it's either Exodus or Leviticus, I think people are encouraged to have sex with. They say that you're supposed to put your seed in something and not spill it on the ground, and that's like, even if it's like a male or female servant, like it doesn't really matter. You're supposed to put it into something, because if you spill it on the ground, that's like bad in God's eyes. I guess he's never heard of Boyhood before, but okay. Not great. I like to shower and cook and can't do any of that in a tent. You can if you're, not with that attitude. You know what I mean? Like, you can make it work. Get yourself like a 5-gallon bucket, poke a bunch of holes in it and stick it up on a hook, and then just go like, that's a shower, right? And then what else did you say? Cook? Come on. You never built a fire before? Just be an old caveman, Be an old caveman and get yourself some caveman skills, and then just go and caveman it up.
That was unnecessary. That is not a sign of God's judgment, okay?
Are you sure about that? So I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Magic doesn't exist. That is a sign of just whoever's in charge of the AV is not very good at their job, just because they probably are a child or just some volunteer from the community, and that's a-okay. Like you could do that. You could be a volunteer and operate the AV. I know I did that for quite a few years in church that I was living near growing up. That's how I got any of my current AV skills, which are minimal, but there's some there.
Hear your comments on what you thought was the most cringe-worthy video, or maybe you watch another video that you think is pretty awesome.
I can't turn the volume up.
So leave a comment below about that. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But biblically, how to understand the immediate consequences of sinful action? There's always going to be a natural response.
No, are you just going to
to
preach for the rest of the time? Oh my
Keep that in
God.
mind. Galatians 6:7 says this: "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. In one way or another, you will reap what you sow." And sometimes we see those consequences immediately. And you think a couple examples biblically. Think about Adam and Eve in Genesis chapter 3 when they rebelled against God. And there was the immediate consequence of spiritual death, immediate separation from God. Happened right then. Or
what? Fuck, man. We're just rehashing like the same shit. Adam and Eve, instant regret, instant karma. Granted, this is 3 years old, so it's not gonna have like the current like philosophical arguments and shit. So now let's do a palate cleanser. Let's see if we can find a funny, ridiculous one before we go on to another PragerU one.
Black MAGA, Black MAGA, Black MAGA, Black MAGA, Black MAGA, Black MAGA, Black MAGA. Donald Trump, yeah, that's my president. Donald Trump, the first black president.
Hold on. Hang on, Republicans. Not all black people are rappers. I think you've probably seen too many TV shows if you think that just all black people rap. I famously grew up in a black neighborhood. You can tell, can you not? I am most well known for growing up in a black neighborhood. I did for real grow up in a black neighborhood. But most of the kids that I knew weren't rappers. There weren't any a large significant amount of rappers among my community members. Then she's not a rapper. Come on. Can we just get a little serious? He's not a rapper. Wait. What is this guy in the back? What are you doing? Why is he there? Is that the My Pillow guy? Oh my God, he's got a fucking Trump head medallion. And this is not a cult? What is that? Who is this man? Oh yeah, real analog. Now I'm outside of immersion. I've lost my immersion. You can't see like that's a continuity error. You can't do that. Get the camera out of the shot. Oh, come on, man. Who is this guy? Why does he look the most like angry of these supposed rappers? I am so confused. Yes, Trump. Yes, Trump. Oh.
Donald Trump, the first black president. Ever seen a black patriot? Yeah, we exist.
I need to hear the entire song by Heavenly Care Painting. Hey guys, we need to hear this entire song. Says the power washer. Oh man. I'm having a lot of fun licking these boots. I need to hear a song that allows me to lick more of these boots with my ears while I'm licking these boots with my fledgling business. Working for pennies on the dollar for rich people. Why they saying Trump is black? I'm pretty sure they're not saying that. Do you think Trump will invite them to the White House for dinner? And he will serve watermelon and fried chicken. No fucking doubt. I think he's had the Blacks for Trump there before, but he invites them to like their rallies and stuff, or to his rallies, and like puts them behind him so the American people can see that he knows a black person. Oh yeah. How's it going, by the way, Mojave Red?
What?
Mojave
Wait a
Red.
minute. Okay, this one might be a tad concerning. Question is, how many of you have seen these propaganda-style Lego videos allegedly coming from either the Iranian government or some sort of propaganda arm, and they're anti-U.S., many might suggest. There's a video floating around right now called 17 Bases Hit, and it's the lyrics I want to talk to you folks about. Starts out with something of...
Wait, hold on. Is this a thing? Somebody confirm or deny for me. Is this a thing? Like, is that a song that he's talking about? Hang on, I'm changing the music real quick. I don't like this like cyberpunk stuff, you know? I'm really trying to like it, but sometimes you just don't feel a genre. A genre. Lego videos.
Notion of, you said 13 dead. We know that's a lie. Hundreds in the dirt, Pentagon trying to hide. Take that into consideration with the follow-up lyrics being, hundreds gone silent, families never told the truth. While you scream victory, we laugh at you. Now you can take this a number of ways, but I do want to ask the question in regards to 13 dead, talking about our service personnel fighting on behalf of this great nation. Do you believe it's possible?
I'm looking it up. Why is it not playing? Oh. I mean, isn't this very obviously talking about America? Like very obviously? Like extremely obviously?
17 bases hit.
Like I'm gonna venture a guess that It's not a conspiracy. This is specifically regarding Iran and the U.S. So what is this? Is it, what type of propaganda is this supposed to be? Well, no shit, it's AI. But I mean, I'm trying to wonder what the purpose is, because the last video was a guy in a car who was talking about, is this supposed to be some kind of truth or propaganda? You know, like, I don't know. It's not America. Well, I feel like this is in Iran or Iran. Like this video is set in Iran. They hit 17 bases in Iran. Was that not where they hit them? When I think they did a retaliatory strike, if I'm not mistaken.
Instantly regretting him denying Jesus 3 times after the rooster crows, as Jesus told him it would. Corey, think about Mark Robert's glitter bombs. You see that media response there, not a biblical one, but those sort of media response.
Jesus Christ, dude. Magic doesn't exist, by the way. God doesn't smite you for shit that you are doing.
Every word, every deed, every action, good or bad. So Paul once asked, do you presume on the riches?
Yeah, no, he's not reacting to any more videos. What the hell, man? It just turned into a straight up preacher section. Or preacher thing. He just started proselytizing. Startling new information about the human race. I guess it's going to blow my mind, so...
Well, hi everyone. We're going to do things a little differently this time.
Let's do things a little differently, I guess.
I'm actually interviewing one of our scientists, Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, and we're doing it over the internet, and I'm on a computer, and he's on a computer at home, and we're able to do this and to get it to you. And so Dr. Jensen actually has a PhD in biology from Harvard University, and he's one of the scientists at Answers in Genesis, and he does a lot of work on genetics, a lot of research on genetics. He's been doing a lot. In fact, he wrote the book Replacing Darwin, where he just absolutely devastates the idea that natural selection is a mechanism for evolution. But he's been doing a lot of genetics research on people groups around the world. And we've entitled this series, and we'll do one at 7 p.m. tonight, and then 7 p.m. Sunday night, and then we'll continue on with this series and see how we go on the weekends. So the title, A New History of the Human Race, the Resettling of the Americas Before Columbus and Other Surprises from DNA. So how about that? And I think it's going to blow people.
What? What the fuck? What the fuck? What are we talking about? I don't know why the volume's so quiet. I don't know. It really shouldn't be. Yeah, there's nothing really that I can do other than just... I can turn on the subtitles, I guess.
People's minds with some of this
if
stuff.
That helps.
For instance,
I know it may not be a help.
He would say this: what does it mean to be of German descent? Is there such a thing as a German, a European? Do Egyptians exist? Chinese? And so it goes on. And in fact, I think he's going to talk about the fact that are British really French, or a French British, or that should stir up the world anyway. And who were the earliest people that settled the Americas? I mean, was it the Americans?
I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to rewrite history so that like white people are the superior race here. That's kind of what this is smacking of.
Indians, was it not? He's got some fascinating information, because he's going to show you, he's going to look at people groups around the world differently than what you have heard from most places. So, Dr. Jensen, welcome. And let me say one other thing just to qualify right from the start.
Dr. Jensen, Johansson Jensen.
We always say there's no truly black people, no truly white people, but we do it for the sake of talking about people's understanding of particular groups. We're all the same skin shade.
No, that's not what anti-racism is. Holy fuck, dude. Even when you're trying to pretend to be anti-racist, you sound like a fucking dick. Like, it's not about not seeing race. It's about appreciating that everyone has their own individual voice. We are not broken up into different groups by skin color. That's what the philosophy is. The philosophy is that we are all just individuals, and we are all just trying to fucking live on the planet together, and that there are cultural differences based on environment and where we end up, but not based on just the fact that one person's skin has more melanin than the others. That's the only message that people are trying to push. And like you fucking fucked it up in the first fucking sentence that you fucking said. If I could incorporate fucking into the words that I say more, I think I'd be a lot happier. But like, You're trying to say that we don't see race. That's the fucking problem, is that you consider anyone other than white not even a fucking human being. You're telling the truth without telling the truth. What you're saying is that, oh, we don't even think that black and white people exist. Yeah, because if it were up to you, everyone would be fucking white. God damn.
But you're sort of talking about regard to people groups and so on. So, Dr. Jensen, tell
You don't, that's the thing. You could just do like a demographic study that doesn't involve fucking delineations based on race, and you could determine then what different groups of people believe based on any other fucking factor that is part of their environment. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're choosing to make make race a factor in this. Nobody else was. Like, it wasn't the Africans that all got together and said, like, against, you know, the rest of the world, and said, like, hey, you know, I don't think that you guys should really enslave us based on the fact that, like, we seem like savages to you because we're black. And, like, that, it's just people taking people and selling them as property. Like, that's pretty much all it is. If everyone was one race, there would be less conflicts. Are you fucking serious? You gotta be kidding. HH, I agree with you. I don't know if it's Jewish fairy tales. I think it's a collection of different people, potentially corrupt individuals who all had a hand in creating it. But, you know, if you believe that it was a Jewish fairy tale for Gentiles, then, you know, feel free to believe that. But no, people are by their nature greedy and want to be independent, want to be special, and want to have, like, you know, some special place, corner of the universe. So no, there would still be just as many conflicts if everyone was the same race. I mean, if you're talking about melanin content in skin, like, that hasn't prevented people of the same skin color from having wars with each other. It didn't prevent us from having a war with you know, England, and then having a war with each other. It didn't prevent Jews wrote it for Gentiles. Okay, I mean, if you're saying it in all caps, and I assume you're shouting it at me, so I guess I just have to believe you. That's not what I believe, but you feel free to believe what you want. Why would I be lying? I don't think you're lying, I just think you're wrong. If there was one race, there would be no racists. But you think that racism is the only problem that humanity has? That's not what you said. You said that there would be less conflicts. I prefer caps. Well, it feels like you're shouting full-throated into my face right now. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily hate that, but all right. You seem passionate. You seem very passionate about what you believe.
Tell us, you know, give us some insight into what you're going to talk about in this series, and share some exciting information with us.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
Startling new information.
Just a little bit of personal note. When my colleagues and I were working on this research, we got to a point where the results...
So all he said to introduce this guy, in case you missed it, is that he's a Harvard professor, I guess, or he's a Harvard-trained scientist. Didn't say in what discipline. And then it said, the Bible literally states that Gentiles are grafted on the Jewish tree. Okay. I don't know what that means in terms of the fact that it was all written by Jews. You know, there's a bunch of books to the Bible, right? Whatever, but there would be no race-motivated crimes, which account for a very small percentage of overall crime. Not nothing, definitely more than would cross the threshold for concerning, but no, a lot of crimes are crimes of passion. Others are crimes of circumstance, like if you're poor and you have to steal something in order to either give it to your kid or to sell it to buy something for your kid. Race-motivated crime is again concerning, but it is a very small percentage of overall crime. So you're moving the goalposts here, which, you know, is something that you know, that you would do if you're not that good at trolling. Which is XV, you know, I think we've got an established history here. And you happen to be wrong. So you can just say, oh, okay, I'm wrong, and then move on. Why the fuck would anyone want to be grafted on T? I think you mean on it. And by it, I think you mean on the Jewish tree. But I don't think that anyone is arguing that they want to be grafted onto a specifically Jewish tree, nor I don't think anyone would want to be grafted to anything at all. Because that would sound painful. That seems like it would be painful to be grafted onto something. And I guess if you're talking metaphorically, like grafted metaphorically to a tree, I don't know why anyone would choose a specifically religious tree, let alone, like, I guess, a specifically Jewish tree, because I don't know that, are there trees that are exclusive to the Jewish faith? I don't think so. But I guess if there were, then people who are zealous in Judaism would probably want to be grafted to a tree like that. I'm not sure, And I think, don't the Jews subscribe to a lot of the Old Testament? Isn't that like kind of a Jewish part of the Bible? Like, I think spiritually, I'm not 100% on whose faith it belongs to, because I don't super care, but that was my understanding. I mean, it seems like you're just anti-Semitic. I think if that's your truth, you should just say it. Why am I wrong, though? Because you made a really broad statement that just wasn't true. Some people are racist, right? Everyone knows that. Because they think other races commit more crimes, right? That's a stereotype, which isn't necessarily true. So if there's one race, meaning all white, all black, which race do you think you'd prefer? Then there's less crimes. If you're talking about that small percentage of race-based crime, yeah, that's just a natural product of that happening, but it would take the place of some other type of tribalism. Or another type of tribalism would just take its place. And less hate. No, not less hate. Absolutely not. Come on, man. The New Testament comes from the Old Testament. The Old Testament is Jewish and the New Testament is for Gentiles. My point. I mean, that wasn't quite clear what your point was. You just said that the entire Bible was a Jewish book for Gentiles. And I don't even really know what for Gentiles means. Like, just for people who aren't Jewish? Or are you just blanket terming entire groups of people with Gentiles? I don't know. I'm not... You're not... You got to explain your point, if you're trying to make one. I'm anti-Abrahamic. I don't... Okay, so are you pro something else? I don't know you. I don't know your life. No, there would be less hate, and it doesn't matter which race it is. I think you're specifically talking about racial hate. Non-Jews. Okay. But the Bible wasn't written for me. I'm an atheist. No, there would be less hate. There wouldn't be less hate at all. By any stretch of the imagination. There's always a form of tribalism. We've known that since the beginning of civilization. That's how we became civilization. And it doesn't matter which race it is. To you it does. Don't lie. It definitely matters. To you. Which I think is your whole basis for saying, if we were all one race, your race, probably. You think that. I'm sure that's what you think. But no, it is only otherism. It is not specifically racism that keeps people from cooperating, or that keeps people afraid and creates tribalism, tribalistic tendencies to separate from outgroups. We read the study on this. We read the definitive study on this on stream. I suggest that you go back and watch it. I don't know where it is, but that means you're just going to have to watch my entire catalog of live streams. But we read the study. No. Fear of outgroups is not specifically based on race. Therefore, it is not an argument for or against racism. Yeah, no shit, there would be less racial hate. I'm the one that made that point. And no, it doesn't matter which race, because there's only one race. When you won't know about other races, commit more. Right? Yeah, absolutely. You don't envision one specific race when you say that there should only be one race. Totally. Jews are the most tribal people on the planet. They cannot be defeated by non-tribalistic people. I don't know what you think my point was. Let it be the white race as the only one then. Why? I mean, white race is like accounts for, you know, a bunch of different countries and a bunch of different like ethnicities. There's even like white Latino ethnicities. So which, you know, I would think that you'd have one specific one in mind, Jordy. The most tribal people on the planet, I don't know that you can assign that to all Jews necessarily, HH. And why would you want to defeat Jews? If you're talking about the Israeli government, I'm all for it, but why would you want to defeat just Jews? You know, Jews account for like millions of people all around the planet, right? Why are you assuming I'm racist? I'm not. You're putting words in my mouth. Just because I said less racism would exist, but you're talking about you're talking about homogenizing the entire human race, I guess you could say the entire human race. You're talking about homogenizing the amount of melanin in their skin, and it's not just that accounts for why people are racist. It's a fear of outgroups. Again, we read this fairly comprehensive study on stream. It's a fear of outgroups. It is not a fear. It is not a racism-based thing. It's just tribalism. We get tribal over fucking monarchies. We get tribal over new policies, even like laws. That's why political parties are divided, because we are separating our civilization based on our values. It's not a race thing. There are definitely people who do that, but that's not overall why crime or hatred or evil exists. It's based on a lot of different shit. And yeah, there's racism in there too. White people are the only people intelligent. There is no significant link between intelligence and melanin content, you fucking piece of shit. Because the white race have accomplished more in the world, accomplished more conquering and ethnic genocide. Yeah, colonialism, occupation of other countries smaller than them. Yeah, absolutely. Imposing their power on other fledgling nations and trying to nation build and regime change. Absolutely, yeah. White people definitely do a lot. The most enslavement of, you know, the people, you know, who don't look like them in modern civilization's era. Jews are tribalistic on race and religion. You cannot assign one claim to an entire group of people, except that Jews are Jews. They promote the opposite against white people. No, they don't. No one group or any number of groups promotes hatred against any other race. At least one race-based group, I mean. No race. You cannot just assign a term or an idea to an entire race of people. That is absolutely... That is what racism is. That is just assigning stereotypes to people that you don't like. Are you white? I have no idea. You are here on YouTube because of white people. I mean, I guess if we didn't use a bunch of Chinese and Africans to build the infrastructure of our country, then sure. Jews aren't tribalistic. That's the one thing that I agree with you on, XV. I don't think it's appropriate to speak for one value, I don't think it's appropriate to assign one value to any one group of people. Jews are the leaders of Blsk Lives Matter, for example. No, they're not. There is no, like, one central organizer to the movement of Black Lives Matter, similar to Antifa in that concept. There's no representative for blacks. There's no mayor of the black people. That's just racism right there. It's just you assuming that everyone of a certain skin color thinks alike. It's weird. Because you wouldn't assume that about your own people, you know? But it's because you think that other races are less intelligent that you have that idea. Ask your rabbi, I'm not a Jewish person. Never claimed to be any religious type of person. I'm actually an atheist, but I don't think I've put that on record. When I don't think I've been like, officially, I am an atheist. Not to the people in my life anyway, to you guys. But that's why a parasocial connection is parasocial, you know? 'Tis not truly.
It seemed so shocking we thought it couldn't possibly be true. But the more we dug into it, the more it started lining up with known history. And what we found is history, as you learn in the textbooks, tends to be a history of politics.
Jews are both an ethnic cultural affiliation and a faith. There are ethnic Jews and there are religious Jews. There are some ethnic Jews are religious Jews and some are not. Well aware of that.
Where, who was the king when. But when you look at the history of peoples, which is what DNA records, there's a significant divergence, and so it rewrites who we came from and how we think about ourselves. So there's a lot in store. We'll take this in major sections. The first several episodes will deal with some of the background shocks that'll set you up for what's to come later, just because if I jumped right into the genetics, you wouldn't believe me.
They are extremely tribal. Again, you cannot assume one concept to an entire group of people. That is a stupid fucking thing to do. That means that you're stupid. If you actually do that in real life, if you do that in your everyday life, because you may just be trolling, in which case, you know, you're welcome to do so. But if you actually think that in your real life, all black people are this, all Jewish people are this, all gay people are this, then you're extremely fucking stupid. And you should not procreate. I think you should probably get chemically castrated. They literally had white people fight to create their nation. Again, you're talking about some Jews during World War II, and even then there's not a conspiracy. So, Israel exists because of white men. I mean, not true. It exists because of a collection of people getting together and defeating a Hitler. There's nothing wrong to put others at work. It is if it's based on their ethnic background for us to accomplish our goals. Yeah, because that's called exploitation. If there was only black or Chinese people, if there's only black or, I assuming you're saying, or Chinese people, you would be not living so comfy right now. What? If there was only black or Chinese people? It's called generalizing. What is? Stop generalizing. What is generalizing? And yes, there is something wrong with putting others to work, especially if it's through slavery. There's zero versions of slavery that were ever okay. Just none, period. Zero versions of slavery were good. There's never a time in history at all in which it was a good idea to own another person as property. Ever. Not since the first millisecond after the Big Bang, or whatever entity you think snapped its fingers and created existence. Never, ever a form of slavery that was ever okay.
Because it's that revolutionary. So the big question we're going to answer in each of these sessions is, who do we come from? Who are the ancestors? We know from Scripture, the 4 C's of the Old Testament, 7 C's of creation.
We come from those fish creatures. You know? Fish creatures. Sex? Are you just randomly saying the word sex? Because if so, I approve.
Creation, corruption, catastrophe, confusion. What we're going to focus on heavily is what happened after confusion. How do we go from Babel to the people groups we see today? What does it mean to be of European descent? What does it mean to all of these sorts of things that we take for granted and have underlying assumptions. I've had underlying assumptions about, and a lot of the mysteries. For example, what happened to these ancient civilizations? The Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. History books, at least when I took history, they present these kingdoms as rising.
What about bees? Bees are not humans. The rest of your comment is irrelevant.
Falling as if they pop into existence out of nowhere and then disappear without a trace. But could they be in my family tree and your family tree?
And if you think that there's a distinct connection between bees and racism, then I would not be. I don't think I'd be surprised to know what you think about other races. If you're thinking, well, animals make a good metaphor too, then you must think other races are animals? Like, what is that? Is that where that's coming from? Because that otherwise has no connection to this at all.
Are we related to the ancient pharaohs?
What am I supposed to think?
I guess sort of the default that the peoples of the lands that these civilizations were in today are the descendants. So if you talk to a Greek,
the peoples,
they're the descendants of the ancient Greeks. They can claim Aristotle. You the modern Egyptians, they can claim the pharaohs, the modern Iranians.
It's called race realism. No, it's called racism. It's just racism. And in this version, you're talking about anti-Semitism. You are being anti-Semitist. Anti-Semitistic, califragilistic, expialidocious. All right?
Iranians can claim the Persians. Or to put it in the negative, I don't think any German would claim Greek heritage or Persian heritage or Egyptian heritage.
Bro, why do you always assume the worst when I say things? What frame of reference do I have when you don't explain yourself? You say Nazi-adjacent things. Look it up, learn it. I know enough about racists to know that one when I see one. What do you want me to learn exactly? about how all of one group is something that you're claiming? No, yeah. No, I saw that it's Hitler. I don't know why it definitely kept you from saying that. Which is weird. It didn't show up in my multi-chat. But no, I saw it when he came in. That's why I was like pretty sure that you're just being anti-Semitic. You can't take a lot of the stuff that I say as me being serious. I have a very, very dry sense of humor. I could even be joking right now. And you'd never know it. Never. You will never know. Ever. When I'm making a joke. You're not as bright as you think. I'm certainly smarter than you. At least by 100 times. And I think we've established that at this point.
And I've discovered that all those underlying stereotypes are wrong. And we'll discover this together. So just to give you some of a preview, we'll see that
This supposedly Harvard-trained scientist, we don't know what discipline, has a feeling that the stereotypes might not be as we thought they were.
calling black white people exist. Of course, there's no such thing as black and white with various shades of brown, but as the mainstream populace refers to black and white and divides people into races, we'll find that
as the mainstream likes to divide people into races, we would never do that, okay? Black and white people just don't exist.
these racial designations hold some big surprises, and especially for people like
It's
white
all just
supremacists who might be
brown.
quite shocked to find out what their genetic heritage is, and hopefully that'll change some of their thinking. We're going to have
Oh my
a long
God.
time spent on what it means to be a European, and are there such things as indigenous Europeans? We'll see that many Europeans, probably the most Europeans, are of recent Asian descent, Central Asian, Middle Eastern descent. And if you look at genetics and you go back just a few hundred years, most European nationalities disappear. You don't see a long Greek lineage, a Roman lineage, a German lineage, these sorts of things. And of course, this touches on other aspects of history, things that I've wondered about for a long time. I grew up never being taught the pre-Columbian history of the Americas. When we're taught U.S. history, it's basically Columbus, Pilgrims, and British colonies. But what happened before that?
Mhm.
And I've gotten questions from Christians about, so where can we go to find the history of these?
Well, wasn't it? So I don't remember specifically, but I think wasn't like Leif Erikson, like some like Norse or Norwegian or whatever. Like some people came, like visited for a short while. Did they like establish a colony or something, Newfoundland or something like that? I'm not entirely sure, but I think that it was not like Columbus that discovered America. Everyone is gay. Well, if you see sexuality as a spectrum like I do, then there is some degree of gay to everyone. It may be 0.0000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 0.0000000000000000000000001% of a person, but everyone is at least that much gay. Which I think that that's a good point of view to have, because it mitigates a little bit of that burgeoning hatred that kids might feel when they and when we say hate, we don't always talk about anger, or we always talk about anger, but it's not the, that's not really what people mean by hate. There's such a thing as passive hate. What percentage of gay are you? I don't know. Never tested it, so I wouldn't know. But you can only really know if you test it. So I have not yet found a straight up dude. We're not talking about like mask presenting trans, or we're not talking about non-binary, we're not talking about androgynous, we're not talking about anything like that. I have not yet found a dude that is attractive enough for me to want to test that. So I'm pretty straight as it is, but I do think that some guys are attractive, like some celebrities and models and stuff like that. Dudes can be attractive. I don't think there's anything against that, but I have not yet found myself attracted enough to break my current streak, if you will.
People, well, wherever you've gone before, it's about to get dramatically rewritten.
And some people feel that way, but less severely so, and so they might be more willing to test it. I'm saying, it is a spectrum. I fully believe that. Aren't you married? Yeah, but being married to someone, A, doesn't mean you're going to be with them forever, and B, doesn't mean that that's the only person that you would ever, the only type of person or gender that you would ever be attracted to. It's a spectrum. Spectrum. Big old spectrum. You can land anywhere on that. You can like women, you can like guys, you can like women that look like guys, you can like guys that look like women, you can like everything in between, you can like a lady, a really like voluptuous lady but with no chest, and you could like a really feminine guy with like big bazooms and no cakes. Like there's all kinds of different types of people, and restricting yourself to one binary is limiting. You know, just because you don't, oh, icky, I don't want to play with a pee-pee. You play with your own. Why would you get married if you don't think you're going to stay together forever? Because getting married was just something that we did in my family and her family, and we love each other enough to honor the wishes of our respective families and attach each other for what we think is going to be the rest of our lives, if that's what we believe. And I truly believe I'm going to spend the rest of my life with her, but you never know. And if either one of us passes, like either suddenly or with old age, I would hope that the other one would get back out there. You shouldn't deny yourself happiness just because you've chosen to attach your life to someone. Like, there can be multiple soulmates. You can fall in love with multiple people. Again, like I said, if we were living like how we were in the caveman days, like, dudes would just be like getting out there and sticking it in whatever will let them. And they could still have a strong significant other, you know, back home, like a solitary mate. You know, like I don't know, man. I don't think I'm any kind of authority on this, but that just happens to be my opinion. And my wife would agree with me, or at least she would find what I say reasonable. That's what makes her a good partner. Play, I say!
You know, most kids these days, and they go to public schools and so on, are taught it's aping your ancestry. So really, maybe we could title the series, Whose DNA is Really in Your Ancestry?
Do you think gender is a spectrum? Yeah. I believe that our bodies don't really allow for easy changes to that spectrum, but yeah, I believe gender is a spectrum.
Exactly. And we'll get.
I mean, didn't I kind of like describe that when I was talking about the types of the types of men and women and stuff there are? Like, it's pretty spectrum friendly.
We'll hit some of the preview questions initially, just to set up the genetics. We'll then sort of work from the present day backwards in time and eventually get to those ancient history questions, which of course eventually touch on, what about the apes? Can you see Adam and Eve in your DNA? What about Noah and his family? Do they show up in genetics? Where's the echoes of biblical history? So we'll get to those as we go from the present day backwards in time. And the reason I do that is just because we're taking DNA, or I should say the DNA sequence.
From what I understand, Noah and his family lived to be like 250 some odd years old, which is not really that possible. And Kent Hovind seemed to think that Adam and Eve were like thousands of years old. Like they died when they were like 9,000 or something like that.
That we have in our public databases are from primarily living people.
That's like a hard claim to make, man.
Present and unravel the effects.
Oh, well, humans lived differently back then. I guess so.
To go all the way back in time.
I fucking guess so.
I started this project trying to look for the history, the signature of Babel in our DNA, and I quickly recognized even the Bible talks about a whole lot of history after Babel. Just look at the history of Israel being conquered, being made captives, and going.
First of all, you can't see history through DNA. I don't know any educated person, and I'm not even educated. I don't know any educated person that would ever agree with that. Like, I went through our DNA and I found history. I found our history. I found all of the elements of I found, I tried to look for whether or not I could see Noah and his family.
And back and forth to foreign lands. There's a lot of history that happens after Babel, and you have to unravel that first before you can go back to the ancient time points. And that brings us back, of course, to the question of the Neanderthals and who were they, and were they primitive, were they cavemen, were they advanced? What we'll find is that they were probably survivors of ancient catastrophes. And really, some of the clues we have to their nature, to their civilization, come from comparison to the Americas and how our stereotypes and views of the Native Americans have changed with time, and those same principles apply then back to that.
Okay, we're dangerous. We're getting dangerously close to some phrenology, racism, eugenics shit here, but I'll let you cut.
But my overall goal, this is one of them. There's several though. There's apologetic elements in this.
These are the people that evolved into black people. Like, I can just imagine this guy saying something like that.
Just pure curiosity elements of what happened in history. But ultimately, though, it's the question of who are you, who am I? And I've taken certain things for granted. You take certain things for granted. And my hope is you'll be able to marvel at your own story of how you got here, the stories of those you love, and really of all the people around the world, and marvel at these in a way you've never dreamed of marveling before. It's dramatically changed my own perspective on my own past.
Okay.
It'll change yours. So today I want to make the point.
Ah, Jesus! Don't fucking jump scare me like that with that photo. Holy shit.
In a unique way, that the world is a lot smaller than we think. This is not where I started this research. And I married my wife, shown here on the screen, just in 2013. When we were dating, 2012.
This is how far they were apart on their first wedding night. They didn't even touch.
I really gave no thought to how related we were. I was originally from Wisconsin. She originally from, she was born in Italy to missionary parents, but her family hails from...
Oh no, is he about to talk about how he's dating his cousin or how he married his cousin or something? What's up, Bill Wildman? Okay, Goose. Are you about to launch into a rant?
From Virginia, West Virginia, and she grew up in Alabama. So hey, the world's a big place. What reason would I have to think that we're somehow closely related?
No, obviously we're all related.
Oh, no.
When we go back to Adam and Eve, right?
Exactly.
Oh no.
I'm saying really we're all much more closely related than what we've been made.
No.
Exactly.
No.
People would say, oh.
Do not promote incest on my stream. Do not. We're about to get into fucking. We're about to get in some incest shit. I don't want to. I don't want you to start supporting incest. Please don't. Please. Oh no.
Oh, my wife is my fourth cousin or third cousin. They'd start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I've had some people be kind of proud of that fact, and I've scratched my head a little bit, but I think most folks would say, yes, I understand we go back to...
Wait. What? Did you... Wait. Who's going to be proud of that?
Oh, my wife is my fourth cousin or third cousin. They'd start to feel a little bit uncomfortable. I've had some people be kind of proud of that fact, and I've...
Who are these people who are proud of that? What? Yeah, I guess for a little bit there, Skippy.
Scratch my head a little bit, but I think most folks would say, yes.
I'm okay with it. I need the engagement. I can always ban them later.
I understand we go back to Babel, but that was such a long time ago. There's no reason for me to feel icky about how close.
No! It wasn't an issue before, and now you're making it an issue. I like it. It didn't need to become an issue, and now you're like, well, I guess my wife and I really are related. I mean,
close related my spouse and I are, or how close related my parents are. And
gross, dude.
This is wrong.
Now he's thinking about his parents banging.
It's not because we've learned more about our family histories. So I'm half German. My dad has done a lot of work on my family tree, and on my mother's side, we've got last names like...
Oh, what does that mean? My dad did a lot of work on our side of the family tree? What the fuck, man? Now, I didn't grow up with my father. Big surprise, right? But I would not have ever regaled anybody with how much he fucking banged. I don't want to think of my parents that way.
Meinke, Maya, Bellman, Kühne,
it's traumatizing.
Names like that. On my dad's side, it's Nelson, Jeanson, Heineck, and my wife's maiden name is Vaughn, V-A-U-G-H-A-N. And so on her side, Wood, Skaggs, Gross, Vaughn without the A. And she told me that there's no need to draw any assumptions about the relationship between the Vaughns without the A and the Vaughns with the A. But I'll leave it at that. So Scotch.
Oh, come on. Now they're like joking. Now it's like a tongue-in-cheek family joke. That they're all related. That they're all just pissing in the gene pool. I mean, well, yeah, we knew, right? I think the atheists among us, which for some reason or another, most of my viewers are Christian. I don't understand why. Still, it's a mystery to me. But those atheists among us, I don't think that, I think a fetish can just exist. I don't think that you need to like couch it in some like, well, I guess God says I can be an incest fetishist. I guess so. I guess that's okay. I'm very interested in his rationale.
And again, I think most of us would say, okay, one side of the family hails from the UK area, one side.
And then it becomes like this weird like family joke, this inside joke among family members. You don't need an excuse, man. Just if you wanna fantasize about incest. You know, I would say don't act on it because it can cause some trauma, and it's probably it would be a very awkward situation, especially in the afterglow. You know, people get caught up in the moment. You know, I'm sure that's a thing, but I would say maybe don't act on it. You know, just think about it. God is real kinky. I mean, if God can see everything, he sees what's going on behind closed doors. Even that butt play people are engaging in with on Tuesday nights. He sees it. He's cranking down to... I mean, if we're made in his image, then he was made to crank down. They call it gooning these days. He was made to goon. God's a gooner. God the gooner. Gooner God.
From mainland Europe, never the two shall mix, right? These countries have long and storied histories. There's no reason to give this a second thought. One of the ways, and one of the reasons I've been prompted to rethink this, came about.
I've got the ick now listening to this guy. He was just being a huge he was passively being a huge proponent of just casually joking about fucking the rest of your family. Okay.
Sort of indirectly. So the last time I took history was in high school, and I've learned that
he's doing a lecture. You're doing a lecture, and you're telling the class, you're telling the people, the people who are viewing this, all 1.8 million of them, that now you're going over this history of our DNA, where we're from, where we came from, like all of this ultimate truth about these revelations, like, oh shit, I found out that all white people are, you know, they're the ones that discovered every country or some bullshit like that. If you're doing that, I would think the last thing you'd want to say is, now I haven't taken history since high school. Fuck!
The history I learned, the world history I learned, was basically a history of Western civilization. In a nutshell, it was essentially that civilization started somewhere in Mesopotamia. Now, I was homeschooled.
You just don't have to be smart to be religious. I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting that being religious takes zero qualifications. And you can all look at the same book. You can all extrapolate the information from the same book. You can all teach from the same book. I keep forgetting. I keep trying to attribute some intelligence to people who are trying to teach this fucking bullshit.
Schooled and went to a Christian high school, so we probably talked about Babel briefly in the flood, but then it kind of jumped right into Mesopotamia. Talk about Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome.
So he went to a Christian high school that taught him about the flood as a historical event. Super cool.
It tends to be
totally not indoctrination.
On Europe, then at that point, we talk about the Dark Ages after the fall of the Roman Empire, then the Renaissance, Reformation, and then Age of Discovery, colonization, so forth, and there we are. That leaves a lot of the world's history out of the discussion, and so I've wondered what happened elsewhere in the world. And as I've had to look into this more because of my own research, I've discovered that the answers, even in history textbooks, leave much that's unsatisfying. So I'm just going to race through real fast.
If you guys are just joining, please feel free to subscribe. I am trying to get to 500 subscribers. That'd be nice. It'd be a good milestone. I'm thinking of maybe we'll do something when that happens. Maybe like an all-day stream or something, but I don't know. Could be a thing. We shall see. Maybe I'll I don't know, take some shots on stream, or talk about conspiracy theories, or we'll just talk some shit. But I would like to celebrate when that happens.
A much broader view of world history. You might not
I think everyone celebrates those little milestones, you know, 500, 1,000, 2,000, all that.
We'll see the specific empires on the screen. What I want our viewers to see, though, is how much of the world is not covered, even in mainstream history texts. So here's we're going to just take a few snapshots here. 400 BC. In yellow here in the center of the screen, this is the Achaemenid or Persian Empire.
Invite us to your house. I used to be known for throwing some pretty awesome parties, but that was, I think, 25 to 26 years ago. So it's been a while. I mean, I do parties for a living. That's kind of my job. But I usually am organizing the food aspect of that.
You can think of biblical history there, Book of Daniel, and so forth.
I have a few people that I work with that handle the party aspect, and I'm sure they'd do it. But I wouldn't want to pay myself to have a party.
Northern Europe is mostly empty. There's beginning movements here in Greece. In just about 100 years, Alexander the Great's going to sweep through here and conquer much of the world. You can see in India there's some civilization. China is in the midst of dynastic change. But sub-Saharan Africa has very little to show here. Australia has very little to show. The Americas seem mostly empty, blank. It doesn't change much if we go to the time of Christ.
Yeah, okay.
Then 81, you'll recognize here in red the Roman Empire, in which the empire that was in existence when Christ came. You can see another empire here in the Middle East. Again, there's activity in India, China, but again, nothing in Africa to speak of, Australia, Central Asia, North America, South America. There's a little bit in Central America where modern day Mexico is, but not much to speak of. There's still a lot of the world that the story isn't told. 500 years later, again, same blanks largely appear. China's extended some of its domain. It's again going through dynastic succession. There's some activity here in Central Asia, Siberia, those empty. Again, the typical candidates for question marks are still there. Africa, Americas, Australia. 900 AD, same thing. The main blanks remain. Even in just 500 years ago, Columbus has discovered the New World, 1492. You're beginning to see some settlement in the Americas from Spain and Portugal, but most of modern day Russia is empty. Sub-Saharan Africa is still empty. Australia empty. On and on it goes, even up till 1700. America is mostly unsettled. Russian Empire is finally reaching east. You begin to see some activity in Africa. Transiently, even in 1815, just 200 years ago, we're looking at a world map that is largely empty. And I say empty in comparison to the modern map, in which
Sweet, my
basically
wife's getting
every
out early.
story
Hell
in this
yeah.
planet has someone saying, mine.
Hell yeah!
Modern world map and assume it's been the same all throughout history, but it's not. It's right up just 200 years ago. Much of the world is empty, and so I've grown up with this mystery, really, wondering what is the story of these other parts of the world. Whoops.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let's try and see what his conclusion is, because I have to fucking power
A man in
through
Europe
this.
looking for a
Jesus
wife in
Christ.
1400.
I am falling asleep here.
There aren't that many ladies to choose from, so either you're going to marry someone who's
Why are you putting... I mean, I guess you're really comfortable in your own skin, man. I appreciate your bravado. I love the confidence. I really do. I would not... What is that, a rat tail? Is this a rat tail? Patriot MAGA 4547. I'm sure I'm gonna love having you here. How's it going? What are the question marks for? Do you wanna elaborate?
probably closer related to you than we might be comfortable with. Or you're going to look outside your clan.
You know, I looked way dorkier. And I would not have been posting a picture of myself for people to be looking at. This guy's confident, man. I'll give him that much. You know, he's married. He's happy. He's a Christian scientist. Well, not a Christian. He's a scientist who happens to be Christian.
And if you're looking outside your clan, that probably means the peoples of the world are much more closely related than we think. And I don't mean we're related to Babel. That's all true. I'm saying even more recently than that, in ways we may not be comfortable with. So there's a good chance.
Ways we may not be comfortable with? What does that mean? So incest is acceptable to you, but not being related to a black person? I guess I'll let you keep cooking.
So you go back a few hundred years, and me and my wife find a common ancestor that might make us 25th cousins. Which, okay, maybe that doesn't make many people uncomfortable, but I'm going to guess most of us don't stop and think how closely related we are in the family tree. And even just to put a number on it, it's like, oh, hey, spouse, I view you now in a different way. So the world really is smaller than we think.
Yeah, now you think she's even hotter.
This large planet which we live is an artifact of the recent spike in population growth. And we'll see this played out over and over again in genetics. So who do we come from? How could all these people be related? We'll find out they're going to be a lot more related than we think, because the world's a whole lot smaller than we think. And because the ancients had far fewer people to choose from when it came to spouses. There's relationships among them that are much closer than we think. And
the picture, man. He's a, you know, he. I'm proud. I'm happy for this guy.
Eventually connect to us. So the world is smaller than we think, and we're going to see this played out in a big way as we get into the genetics eventually.
Well, this is going to be absolutely fascinating to look at this, because really you're sort of rewriting the history that most people have heard at school, rewriting it, and based on genetics. And then when you look at scripture, you see that...
Not a geneticist, by the way. Not a geneticist.
Wow, the history in the Bible then makes sense of the genetics that you see. And that's what you're going to talk about in other programs.
We'll see that the biblical history makes sense. We'll talk about how the evolutionary history does not. We'll talk about the implications for ethnic identity, how we view each other. There's huge implications for...
We're going to talk about how the evolutionary history does not make sense. All right? We're going to go ahead and just debunk an entire science on a YouTube web series. And this was, again, I think 6 years ago. So they haven't done it yet. They haven't managed to do it yet. Oh my god. Fucking hilarious. All right. I don't want to watch that one. All right, we're going to watch their latest video. Oh, fuck the communist agenda. This might be a little nuanced. Let's look at what makes you American. Oh, God. Oh, no, is MAGA full of dorks? Yes, MAGA is full of dorks.
Victor, let's get your thoughts about J.D. Vance, who's been much in the news the last few days, calling into Joe Rogan.
Well, he's doing what the traditional job description of a vice president is. It's to go out, take flack. So that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to shield the president and take the flack and detour his enemies. And this was a multifaceted week. So with Joe Rogan, people should remember Joe Rogan endorsed Donald Trump on the last day of the campaign. And he had voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary of 2020. So he was part of the entourage with RFK and Dana White and Tulsi, all those people at Madison Square Garden. He's apolitical in one sense, but I would say that his heart is socially conservative, but maybe left-wing politically.
Victor, I don't think everybody knows essentially what he said.
Yes, what he said was two things. One, that he was disappointed that the supporters of Donald Trump were either unintelligent or uninformed, and they were dorks.
True on both accounts.
And two, he said that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama had secured the border and done a better job on immigration.
True.
And that's what J.D. Vance then called him, and he was quite right about that, J.D., and said those are factually incorrect. Donald Trump...
Neither of those is incorrect.
...inherited 12...
You can't say that, well, MAGA's not MAGA aren't dorks, and that's factually incorrect, because that's an opinion.
Million illegal aliens, and he has zero. On some months, he has zero entrants. Neither Barack Obama nor what Hillary Clinton said she was going to do, nor Bill Clinton ever had zero. Both of them eventually supported MAGA.
Seriously, like, what is it, zero entrances is what he's saying? Like, that's just impossible. And, like, even if you're slowing the trickle, you're never going to stop it. Yeah.
Scale amnesties. The Dreamers, whatever you want to call them. Trump...
You mean people who are constitutionally allowed to be here? Okay. Interesting stance.
Trump deported more criminals than either one of them. It's true that before Trump's second term...
Only just because you label people criminals... And this, the thing that they've been doing this entire time, this whole anti-immigration campaign has been going on, is saying that you are committing a crime by coming into the country illegally. And that is the crime. That's the thing that makes you a criminal. But they're framing it like the criminals that they're after are people who are committing murders. It's people who are committing armed robberies. It's people who are committing terrorism. They're eating the cats.
Obama deported more, but they counted people who were turned away at the border as deportations. And that wasn't so in Trump's.
YouTube says one person is watching while 5 people are talking. I don't know. They have been having view count disruptions, I guess, but I didn't think I was a part of that. I don't think I'm big enough, you know? I don't think I'm like... I don't have enough clout on the YouTubosphere.
Cases in every case, at least. And then he addressed the dorks. And I don't know, I thought that was, when he said they're unintelligent and uninformed, there's been a lot of studies that show that people who watch, say, Fox News know more about world events than CNN. It just, that Rush Limbaugh used to quote.
There have been studies. Okay. But largely, the people who claim to be MAGA tend to be less intelligent and less educated because that is a tenet of their foundations. They want people who are less intelligent and who don't go to colleges, who don't learn diverse thought. That's all it is. Evangelicals seem to be too far gone. Yep. I guess. to some extent. I mean, I think that there are some people who can be, I don't know, evangelical. Being like an evangelical, like biblical literalist is kind of, or even just really fundamental when it comes to like the OT or like Leviticus or something like that. On the horizontal, I see 0 viewers. Yeah, there's 0 viewers across the horizontal, and the Twitch only has my chatbot as the viewer right now. It's weird, man. Like, I guess I understand we're in the age of TikTok, so vertical's going to get a lot more viewership, but it's just weird. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Pope has been good lately, yeah.
Both data all the time, and talk radio in particular. And I think, when Johnny on Jesse Waters goes out to the beach and he talks to people, or he talks to people in the street and they know nothing, I don't think he's really getting a lot of conservative people there.
Well, he's getting college students, though, so that says something about the academy.
But they're not conservative, I'll tell you that, because if he talked to people from Thomas Aquinas or Hillsdale, they would talk his head off with data and facts and analysis.
Yes, because study is all they have, because they don't. You have to create, the numbers. You have to cook the books. You have to create the numbers in order to make them say what you want them to say, because reality doesn't comport with what your bias says. So yeah, that's why conservative people will tend to come at you with more data and more less speculation, because they have to do that amount of work in order to bend over backwards to get their points to work. That's like people who ascribe to progression are willing to learn. And that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of the people want to be working together with the opposite side of the aisle on these things, but I don't think that it's just not something that they seem willing to do.
So Dady called him up,
and that is a stupid position to take. Just saying.
He kind of did it lightheartedly. You got wrong on immigration, and he said there's dorks in any group, but we have fewer than anybody.
I mean, yeah, there are dorks in any group, but the ones in MAGA are harmful. The ones in Christianity are harmful. Like, they're harmful to people. Like, if you impact people physically, societally, in a definitive manner, then you should probably like not be doing the thing that you're doing. That's mean. That's bad. That's rude. It's evil. You know? Hey. All right, so that's enough PragerU for now. I think we're done with the TikTok videos.
Racial identity,
and then we're done with this one too. Cool. I bet Trump doesn't even know what JD stands for. Shit, I don't even know. John Deere. John Deere tractors. All right, well, it is 1 o'clock. My wife is actually getting out early today, which is really cool. We're going to spend some time together. Thanks, guys, for joining me. We're going to end the stream. I'm going to say adieu, and we're going to be back on Monday talking about more or less the same shit. I did want to cover the rest of Christian karate, but also another fun thing is that we're going to be talking a little bit about and then I just blanked on it. Oh, the quartering. Apparently the quartering is like a true cuck. Like, he actually like has a guy come over to fuck his wife. So we're going to cover that on Monday. I got to get some actual like research materials together for it, because I want to make sure that I get as much of that information correct as possible. But yeah, apparently Jeremy is a bit of a swinger. So we're gonna talk about that on Monday. All right, a little bit of a cliffhanger for you. All right, have a good day. Thanks, Helmet. You stay safe too. Hope everything is gonna get better for you soon. I know that you've been going through some rough times, so I hope things look up. And in the meantime, later.